Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sleep Talks and Strategy Guys series. In this episode, we're going over something that we've already covered once before, actually. It's the first repeat thing, but it's not really a repeat. We're changing it up a little bit. We're talking about berry bombing. Now, berry bombing is one of the more niche tactics in the game, and in my last time discussing this, I really went over how to best optimize the berry bomb, how to pick the right teammates to pick out the best berry bomb potential. But in this one, we're going to go more over what sort of skills, subskills, and nature should you be looking for on a Pokemon to use on a berry bombing team. Because there was kind of a question that was brought up to me earlier today that I was like, I want to talk about that. So that's why I'm getting into it. So what are we looking for when looking to address berry bombing? Well, when you are berry bombing, the biggest thing that you want to be looking for is that you are getting the most berries out of the Entei's procs. That means that typically things that we would consider to be good on a berry specialist aren't necessarily all that useful, like helping speed M. One of the best subskills in the game that isn't like the gold ones, in fact, actually probably the best subskill in the game that isn't a gold skill. Helping speed M provides just a 14% boost to speed. The thing is, Entei is proccing, and I say Entei because I think about the Overstacker as Entei because it's what I have on my account. So if I say that, just know that I mean the Overstacker. I use Entei. Anyway, the Overstacker is producing flat procs over their inventory, which means speed actually does absolutely nothing for the berry specialist that you're using alongside of the Pokemon that is proccing that main skill. Additionally, normally I consider that ingredient finding M is kind of just a meh. Like, a lot of people say that it's bad for berry specialists. While that technically is the case, I don't consider it to be that bad because you can always use the excess ingredients produced as filler in your meal. But really what you're looking for in a berry bomb is to have the most amount of strength possible right away on Monday morning through lots and lots of berries, and that way you have that excess strength produced for the entire week instead of just later throughout the week. If you're using those ingredients as filler, then realistically, that is not being applied right away at the start of the week, which is the strength in berry bombing. So this ingredient finding M and ingredient finding S, they hurt more on Pokemon that you are attempting to use for berry bombing than it would on other berry specialists. Inventory, honestly, is a little bit nice because if you have a big inventory, then that Pokemon can produce a lot of berries to just have a slightly bigger bomb that morning anyway, like without the assistance of the legend to overstack it. So like, inventory helps a little bit, but it's very minuscule, basically negligible. And that's pretty much all the theory behind it. Now, berry finding S is pretty much a non-negotiable for berry Pokemon that you are overstacking on. And helping bonus is a nice add-on, as it almost always is. Not because it actually helps the Pokemon that you're trying to overstack on. That would have the same sort of problems as helping speed M. But it allows team members to help 5% faster. And one of your team members is going to be the overstacking skill specialist. So it'll help that Pokemon produce 5% faster. But a 5% boost to helps, a 5% boost to the procs of the skill isn't even comparable to a 50% boost in the value of each proc. So I did a little bit of an analysis of this. Now, nature as well. Nature really doesn't make that big of an impact at all when it comes to this. But because there are ingredient finding down natures and ingredient finding up natures, obviously, if you want to make if you want to use a Pokemon for the sake of berry bombing, you don't want ingredient finding up, and you do want ingredient finding down, just because it is nice. But the difference is pretty small, as I will get to here soon. So, for analyzing this and actually putting numbers behind it, I just ran this team through the Randonetics calculator. This is my Entei that I have on my main account. I have this Arcanine as well. Fun fact, this Arcanine is shiny. You can't see that in Raynon, at least on this screen, but it is. But anyway, and then 2 theoretical Typhlosions. I tested them at base, so neutral. I tested it with some of these different aspects, and I just gauged how much berries are being produced per day by Entei's number of procs, based off what subskills and nature that they have. And I logged that a couple times over and just demonstrated that right here in a spreadsheet. Now, at base, it was about this much. Don't worry about the exact numbers because this is going to vary heavily from team to team. But the percentages are really what we need to be worrying about. And as you can see, at base, 0% boost because it's literally the white room. It is the most neutral berry specialist that we could evaluate. And you can see that if we have just ingredient finding M and ingredient finding S, that can be a 14% decrease to productivity for the strength of that berry bomb on Monday morning. Now, this is for Typhlosion. A Pokemon that, a berry specialist that has a higher natural base ingredient rate is going to be more harmed by this because that higher base ingredient rate boosting it will cut deeper into the berry productivity. So, honestly, this number could fluctuate a decent amount, but overall, for Typhlosion, it came up as 14% roughly of a harm if it had both ingredient finding M and ingredient finding S. Now, ingredients down in the nature, everything else neutral, boosted the Pokemon by about 5.25% overall. Now, you can see that help bonus boosted it by more than double that, almost 12.39%, and that is assuming that both of them had helping bonus. And now, that is pretty impressive when you consider all these other boosts. But like I said, Berry Finding S, just a flat 50% boost to the amount of berries produced. You cannot compete with that because this is the circumstance where you are looking at strictly berry productivity and no other forms of productivity, which means it takes out all the complications. Berry Finding S is just a flat 50% boost. Nothing competes with that. None of these other boosts compete with that. Berry Finding S is a minimum for the berry specialist that you add to your berry teams or your teams for berry bombing. If you don't have a berry finder with Berry Finding S, then I'm kind of shocked you're at the point where you have a legend to be able to consider these sorts of things. But if you do, you know what, that's awesome. Then you can use something without it, but be hunting for something with Berry Finding S, because it will just do significantly better than any alternative. And I did question, you know what, this circumstance, this evaluation is not perfect, because it is just running... helping bonus is a weird skill. It gains more value the more Pokemon you have on the team that have it. So I was like, okay, maybe we need to compare the helping bonus to just a white room circumstance. Everybody has helping bonus versus everybody has Berry Finding S. So I did that, and as you can see here, the Ninetales, roughly 7,059 output with Berry Finding S. And with help bonus, it's coming to 6,080. Now, that's not quite the discrepancy that we're seeing here, from 12 to 50% boost, but it's still... This is the best possible circumstance to give helping bonus in competition with Berry Finding S. Now, I also want to make the comparison of helping bonus with ingredient finding M to see if helping bonus does neutralize out heavy ingredient finding stats. And in my opinion, it does, because as you can see, helping bonus plus ingredient finding M alone does give a boost. Now, theoretically, with ingredient finding S as well, or an ingredient finding nature, this could get worse. It probably could be below neutral, but something to consider is that helping bonus is boosting the entire team by that 5.25%, not just the individual Pokemon. So if the individual Pokemon is hurt by having ingredient productivity decreased, then that's alright, because it's boosting the rest of the team a little bit, and they're not going to be harmed by that individual Pokemon's ingredient finding productivity. So overall, I would say, if you had to evaluate what sort of skills are what sort of sub-skills in nature are the most optimal for a berry finder on a berry bombing team, you're looking for Berry Finding S is necessary, helping bonus is a nice add-on, and any sort of ingredient finding is bad, but it's not so bad that it can't be overcome by those other two skills. If a Pokemon has Berry Finding S and help bonus, and then it has ingredient finding M, ingredient finding S, and an ingredient finding nature, that thing is going to be better then anything that doesn't have those two main skills, first and foremost, even if it has an ingredient fighting down in the nature, is my personal opinion on the matter, and the numbers kind of point to that. So, yeah, if you found this talk interesting, this one's a bit more of an odd one because you can't necessarily pick and choose the subskills in nature that are on your Pokemon. But if you have Pokemon that fit the job of berry bombing a little bit better, I know in my case I'm kind of hunting a Ninetales for the sake of berry bombing because I would like to have that. So maybe how I evaluate the Ninetales specifically might be different than how I typically evaluate berry specialists, just because I am aiming for this role of berry bombing. Additional speed might be kind of nice as well, because even though it doesn't help with the strength of the berry bomb, it will help mitigate some of the costs that are at play when you are berry bombing, because one of the biggest costs is that you are giving up strength in the week prior leading into the next week, and if they have help speed M, that is going to help them sneaky snack faster, even if it doesn't contribute to the berry bomb in the next week, so that way you don't do as bad in the week that you're currently sitting in. So there are some advantages to that as well, but if the goal is purely berry bombing, then you do evaluate them a little bit differently in what you're looking for in the subskills in nature. So yeah, if you have enjoyed the video, maybe learned something, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Please join the Discord if you can, or if you want to. There's a link down there in the description as well. It's where I get a lot of ideas for these videos and a lot of concepts, and just to talk with the community. You guys are cool, so yeah. And yeah, as always, I thank you all for watching and hope that you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.